Hi, I'm Chris Marcucci. With me today is business manager here at Leland Gray, Frank Rucker. Hi, Frank. Thanks for coming.
Good to be here, Chris.
We've been given some very valuable information. There's a plan that we could follow when we need to buy a car, get insurance, rent an apartment, take care of medical and dental insurance, open a bank account, develop a credit history, eat well, and deal with a crisis. How can we tie this together? What could be an overall plan?
Okay, well, what I've done is I've developed a personal budget for a student leaving Leland and Gray, about to become independent, and in trying to address your questions about those variety of things that you have to sort through and choose as to how you want to spend your money, how you want to create a sort of an independent living situation for yourself. I've done a little survey of Leland Gray recent graduates, kids that are living in the area, West River Valley, working here, haven't gone to college yet, but maybe they will at some point. And in my survey, what I've assembled is sort of it's basically a personal budget. And my objective is to give you a summary of, when you pull these things together, buying a car, getting housing and all of that, what does it look like in terms of an annual amount of spending, and then what does that mean in terms of how much you need to earn in order to live independent. So here's a scenario. Based on this survey of some recent graduates, I have identified about $29,000 worth of expenses that it would be typical if you were to live on your own in this area right out of high school. And kind of putting that in the context of an income, that's about $14 an hour. If you worked, say, 50 weeks out of the year, 8 hours a day, had a couple of weeks off. Okay. So what I'm gonna share with you in just a few minutes is what is that $29,000 made up of? So we start with the biggest expense that we all have to incur, and that is housing, place to live. Typically, that's around $500 a month, and 500 times 12, I think, is somewhere around $6,000 a year. Okay, and that's generally the largest single expense that we all need. Of course, rent comes along with a heat bill, electric, phone, maybe an internet connection. That's another $1,500 a year out of that $29,000. Then, of course, the other major expense that we all incur is food. And the survey information that I've gotten from young people that are on their own, they're spending somewhere around $25 a day to eat. And you add that up over 365 days a year, that's another $5,400. So out of that, those three components, housing, and food, and the utilities and communication and so on, that's about half of the $29,000. So then the rest of what those expenses are, many of the things that you've heard about today. It's the transportation to get to work. It's the insurances that are required associated with owning a car, and then there's the fun stuff, the recreation, hobbies, maybe a birthday gift, that kind of stuff, a golf club or something. So I'll give you a little bit of a summary of that kind of expense as well, and then we'll wrap it up. Some of these other expenses you've heard earlier. Maybe we didn't talk specifically about health insurance, but that is right up there with a food bill, in that a single policy typically costs somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 a year, and that has a high deductible. So, of course, the incentive is to eat well and take care of yourself, and you won't need to exceed that and incur those expenses. But that's a typical cost of living. In addition, there's lots of different kinds of cars that you can purchase to get to work and back, but a typical car payment might be $200 a month. And then on top of that, there's another $150 a month in insurance, which would be somewhere around $1,500 or $1,800 a year. And that would be on an older car, that doesn't require collision insurance. A couple of other things I just want to mention, and that is we can't get away from taxes. So I mentioned $29,000 a year, half of it going to housing and food. Taxes it's statutory. That amount of the income would require a contribution in taxes of somewhere around $3,000 in the Social Security and Medicare tax, and then another maybe $300, $400, $500 in federal withholding. In addition to that tax, there's a state income tax. That's about almost 4% of your income. So that's another nearly $1,000 out of that total budget. And then finally, I would just want to emphasize the importance of saving as soon as you get out of high school and you begin that commitment to taking care of yourself when you can't work, when you're 60. And so in this personal budget, I've put $1,000 a year savings goal. People generally in the financial planning industry will recommend you should save 10% of your income every year. 10% of $29,000 is $2,900, and this is only $1,000. So it's the beginning. It's certainly there would be a long way to go. So that's sort of a summary of the survey that I have received back from a number of Leland and Gray graduates that are living in the area, they're working in the area, and as I mentioned, when you take that modest kind of a living expense and then you turn it into an hourly wage, what do you need to earn in order to sustain that lifestyle? Well, that's about $14 an hour, and so if you go out and get a job at $13 an hour, well, you're going to have to drop out one of these things or parts of a lot of these things that we talked about. $13 an hour is about $26,000 a year in income, and another point of reference, $10 an hour is about $20,000 a year, assuming you're working that 8-hour day and you get a couple of weeks of vacation off over the course of the year. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it answered your question. And
thanks, Frank, for tying this all together.
Very good. You're welcome.